You know what makes me absolutely furious? The fact that WWE kept us in the dark 4 months while they secretly orchestrated the most explosive reunion in professional wrestling history. And you want to know the worst part? Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins knew about it the entire time and said nothing. That's right, they looked us straight in the face week after week and kept this nuclear bomb of a secret locked away. But last Monday on Raw, everything changed when the arena went pitch black and that unmistakable sound hit. The Shield's music. Dean Ambrose, the lunatic fringe himself, the man who said he'd never come back, walked through that crowd like he never left. And the wrestling world will never be the same. Let me paint you the picture of what went down, because if you missed this moment, you missed history being written in real time. Raw was already off the rails with the Bloodline storyline reaching its boiling point. Roman and Seth were standing in the ring, surrounded by a sea of enemies, outnumbered 5-2. The new Bloodline was closing in for what looked like a brutal beatdown that would end both men's careers. Seth was on one knee, Roman was backed into the corner, and just when you thought it was over, the lights cut out. 15 seconds of complete darkness. 15 seconds that felt like an eternity. And then that sound. That iconic Sierra Hotel India Echo Lima Delta. The place erupted. 70,000 people lost their minds simultaneously. But here's where it gets insane. Dean didn't come through the entrance ramp like a normal superstar. He came through the crowd, wearing the tactical vest, the combat boots, the whole Shield aesthetic, like he'd been planning this return for years. The look on Roman's face, the absolute shock in Seth's eyes, it was genuine. These guys are professional performers, but you can't fake that level of emotion. The reunion wasn't just 3 guys standing together. It was a statement. Dean immediately went into lunatic mode, clearing house with chair shots, suicide dives, and that unhinged energy that made him a legend in the first place. Roman and Seth fell right back into sync like they'd never been apart. The triple powerbomb through the announce table? Chills. Absolute chills. The new Bloodline scattered like roaches when the lights come on, and the Shield stood tall in the center of the ring, fists together, that symbolic gesture that represents brotherhood, loyalty, and dominance. Now let's talk about what this means for the wrestling landscape moving forward, because this isn't just a feel-good reunion moment. This is a complete paradigm shift. For the past 2 years, Roman has been carrying the Bloodline story on his shoulders, dealing with betrayal, family drama, and the weight of being the tribal chief. Seth has been floating between the main event and upper midcard, never quite finding his footing after his injury. But Dean walked away from WWE on his own terms, became Jon Moxley, conquered the independent scene, and became one of the most respected wrestlers on the planet. His return isn't desperation, it's a choice, and that makes it so much more powerful. Trivia question 1, drop your answer in the comments. What year did the Shield originally debut in WWE, and which pay-per-view event did they interfere in? The backstage politics of this reunion are absolutely fascinating when you dig into them. Sources close to the situation have revealed that negotiations for Dean's return have been happening since last summer. Triple H, now running creative, personally reached out to Dean multiple times. But Dean had conditions. He wanted creative control over his character, he wanted the Shield reunion to be meaningful and not just a cheap pop, and he wanted assurances that this wouldn't be a one-off appearance. He wanted a full-time run with purpose and direction, and clearly, WWE agreed to everything. Roman's reaction to Dean's return tells you everything you need to know about their real-life relationship. These guys came up through developmental together, they revolutionized tag team wrestling together, and they became megastars together. When Roman was battling his leukemia, Dean was one of the first people at his side. When Seth dealt with his injury and personal struggles, Dean checked in constantly despite being in a different company. This brotherhood transcends business, transcends contracts, transcends everything. You could see it in Roman's eyes when Dean's music hit. That wasn't Roman Reigns the character, that was Joe I Know I seeing his brother come home. Seth's response was equally powerful but in a different way. Seth has been vocal about wanting the Shield back together, but he'd accepted that it might never happen. He'd moved on, built a new legacy, became a Grand Slam champion, and established himself as one of the pillars of WWE. But you could tell a piece of him was always missing. That wild, chaotic energy that only Dean brings was absent from his matches, from his promos, from his entire aura. The moment Dean appeared, Seth transformed. The architect became the mad architect again, embracing the chaos, feeding off Dean's energy, and you could see years of frustration melt away. The timing of this reunion couldn't be more perfect from a storyline perspective. The Bloodline saga needed a massive injection of star power to elevate it beyond what it's been for the past year. Solo Psycho has been phenomenal as the new tribal chief, but let's be real, he's not Roman. The new Bloodline members are talented, but they lack the legitimacy that the Shield brings. By bringing Dean back and reuniting the Shield, WWE has created the ultimate David versus Goliath story, except both sides are Goliath. This isn't just a faction war, this is a collision of the two most dominant groups in modern wrestling history. Trivia question 2, comment below, how many times have the Shield held tag team championships together, and can you name all the teams they defeated for those titles? Before we continue, we have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. What makes this reunion different from every other reunion in wrestling history is the authenticity. WWE has done reunions before. DX came back multiple times, the Brothers of Destruction reunited repeatedly, Evolution got back together for nostalgia pops. But those always felt manufactured, like WWE was just pressing the break glass in case of emergency button. This Shield reunion feels earned. It feels necessary. It feels like the natural evolution of three separate stories converging into one explosive narrative. The fan reaction has been absolutely insane. Social media exploded within seconds of Dean's music hitting. Twitter crashed multiple times because of the volume of tweets. Instagram and TikTok were flooded with reaction videos, and the WWE YouTube clip of the reunion has already surpassed 20 million views in less than a week. This isn't just wrestling fans being excited, this is mainstream attention. People who haven't watched wrestling in years are tuning back in because of this moment. That's the power of the Shield. That's the power of Dean Ambrose returning home. Now let's address the elephant in the room. What does this mean for Dean's character going forward? Is he going to be the old Dean Ambrose that WWE fans remember, or is he going to bring elements of Jon Moxley into this new version? Based on what we saw at Raw, it looks like he's blending both personas. He's got the unhinged violence of Moxley but the charismatic showmanship of Ambrose. He's not doing comedy segments or acting goofy, he's a legitimate threat with a dark edge. And that's exactly what this reunion needed. If Dean came back as the same character from 2019, it would feel dated. But this new version feels fresh, dangerous, and unpredictable. The championship implications are massive too. Roman is clearly being positioned for another Universal Championship run. Seth is in the hunt for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Dean can slide into any title picture he wants. The possibilities are endless. Imagine a Shield triple threat for a World Championship at WrestleMania. Imagine the Shield holding all the gold simultaneously. Imagine Dean as Intercontinental Champion bringing prestige back to that title while Roman and Seth battle for the main event. Every scenario is exciting because these three men have proven they can make anything work. Trivia question 3, let us know in the comments, what was Dean Ambrose's last match in WWE before he left in 2019, and who was his opponent? The long-term booking potential here is absolutely staggering. This isn't just a 3-month program that ends at the next pay-per-view. This could be a 2-year story arc with multiple chapters, betrayals, redemption arcs, and classic matches. The beauty of the Shield is that they work just as well as a united force or as enemies. We've seen them feud with each other multiple times, and every single time it's been magic. So even if they stay together for 6 months and then someone turns, it'll be compelling television. What absolutely infuriates me though, and I need to get this off my chest, is how WWE marketing completely dropped the ball on this. They could have promoted Dean's return and still made it shocking. They could have built anticipation for weeks and made Raw's ratings skyrocket. Instead, they kept it completely under wraps, which is admirable from a surprise standpoint, but terrible from a business standpoint. Imagine if they'd released a cryptic promo package the week before. Imagine if they'd teased something big was coming. The viewership would have doubled. But no, they went for pure shock value, and while it worked for that one moment, they missed out on millions of dollars in potential revenue. The Shield's legacy was already cemented before this reunion. They changed WWE forever. They proved that homegrown talent could be just as successful as established names. They revolutionized the faction dynamic, the entrance through the crowd, the tactical gear aesthetic, everything. But this reunion cements them as the greatest faction of all time, period. Not the Four Horsemen, not DX, not NWO. The Shield. Because they did it right, they did it authentically, and they did it when it mattered most. So what happens next? That's the question everyone's asking. Raw this Monday is going to be absolute chaos. The new bloodline will respond, and it won't be pretty. Solo Psycho isn't going to just accept this. He's going to bring war, and that's exactly what we want. We want an all-out war between these two fact irons that main events every major pay-per-view for the next year. We want steel cage matches, war games matches, elimination matches, everything. The Shield is back. Dean Ambrose is home, and wrestling just became must-watch television again. Drop your thoughts in the comments, tell us your favorite Shield moment of all time, and let's ride this wave together because this is only the beginning.